I am an atheist who converted back to Christianity. Let me explain. I was born not 4 months after the September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center. Terrified, my family, like millions of other U.S. families, turned to an Americanized, politicized, idealized version of a sort of non denominational Christianity, uh, orchestrated by right wing psyops and guided by fears of compromised national security. It offered people a sort of comfort that their enemies would face hell and that God was on their side, as religion always does. Although I didn't have the words to articulate it, I started to understand this around age 13, and I began to realize that the current conception of the Christian God Yahweh and other Abrahamic interpretations didn't quite line up with reality or with epistemology. For a very long time, I considered myself an atheist. I wish I still could. Here's a little background. When I was 18, I decided to take all of my political disillusionment and anger and put it towards something productive. I wanted to get involved, and so I started talking to mutual aid networks in my local DSA chapter, and I started making friends. I brought desserts. I participated in meetings. I offered ideas. I and I still attend labor committee meetings to this day. It's sort of a second home to me, and the friends that I've made there are very close to me. One day, my friend, let's call him Joseph, who I may or may not fancy a little bit, invited me to a bonfire with our other friends from committee. And I didn't really have anything to do uh, that night, and um, I was a little bit lonely, so I accepted. And this is like maximum 2 weeks ago, by the way. That night, um, while we were making funny jokes and having a couple beers, sitting around the fire, I my buddy Joseph turns to the rest of the group and he asks, well, he says, I met Jesus the other day. Have you guys met Jesus? And my other friend, let's call him Gabriel, um, he says, yeah, sure, sure, buddy. We've all met Jesus. Uh, and Joseph says, in all seriousness, like he says just in a very straightforward tone, you guys should come over next weekend. And so we did, and it was another bonfire, and I hadn't thought about the incident. Um, I hadn't thought about the whole Jesus thing until our other friend Archie brought it up. I think his exact words were, "Hey, Joseph, you mentioned Jesus last week," and Joseph didn't even have to answer because because there he was. He didn't appear like you would expect. The whole capitalist idea that he comes to you in a dream, or that there's some kind of golden shimmer and he descends from a staircase in the sky, and he's not some white dude with silky long brown hair with a beautiful beard. I mean, he does have a beautiful beard, but he he, he just looks like a Cuban guy. But I mean, obviously, yes, obviously he's like Palestinian or whatever. But I mean, he just looks like a regular guy. he just came out and he stood in front of the fire, and without any of us saying anything, we all kind of we we just knew that it was him. That night he spoke to us. He asked us a lot of questions. I assumed then if he was God, which some something was like radiating off of him, that it was if I could describe it, it was something like truth waves, God waves, or something, some kind of aura, or I guess aura would be the best way to describe it. Some kind of essence about him that was beyond human comprehension, but assuring in the fact that whatever stood behind it could be called God. And he asked us about our lives as if he didn't know everything about us. And I knew that we all knew that he knew, because we just, but it didn't need to be said. Nothing, very, very little, very little needed to be said. He didn't say much of anything. It was mostly us doing the talking at this session. It was the rest of us. We all went home that night, and I don't remember my dreams, but I remember feeling fear when I went to sleep. The next weekend, we go back over to Joseph's house, and there he is again. And he does some of the talking this time. But for what little talking he did, he revealed a lot. It's very hard to describe this experience because I'm pretty confident that it's never been experienced by anyone other than maybe somebody who's done psychedelics or something. But even then, someone on psychedelics doesn't come back and offer some incredible new testable prediction that could alter the state of physics and science entirely. But Jesus revealed to me things. I told him things about myself that I've never told any human being alive. And I knew that it was him. I'd been an atheist for so long, and yet I knew. But that night, he he gave us communion. We ate of his flesh, and we drank of his, and the physicists, the astrophysicists, the particle physicists, they're all on the verge of something like really big and really deep, and it's all gonna converge soon. Soon, he told us, we're going to learn something that's going to push us past a point of no return. And to me, that meant that we will gain a new layer of understanding, and we're going to get a step closer to understanding God and understanding his mysteries and his machinations. to not to use too dramatic of language. And then the next weekend, we came again, and he gave us communion again, and he distributed implements. He had prepared some very, very, very fine blades for us to. It was a Last Supper of sorts, in which Jesus instructed us to demonstrate our faith to one another. He instructed us to place the blades of our knives to each other's jugular. Oh, he knew just where to place the knife, just to get the closest to our hearts, to the artery that would take him to our cores, the fastest and the most efficiently and the most fully and once he knew that we could carry the message forth, that our minds and our hearts were prepared, he revealed so many secrets. Time, as human beings understand it, is not a physical property of the universe. It's a function of memory. It's human beings having evolved organs capable of storing approximations of events based on what they mean to our survival in social situations and just in basic survival situations. But time, the passage of time, is not something that truly takes place. There's no past to go back to. There's no energy for that. That would violate all of our conservation laws. No. The truth that Jesus revealed to us is that time, much like the space that we walk through, is just another direction of travel, but it's limited. It's limited. But if we can simply choose not to walk on that axis, we can move with energies, and we can interact with energies, and we can create objects in new dimensions. We can understand entanglement, and we can understand so much more about our universe. And he showed us all of this, and as he was showing us, he didn't even need to speak. He didn't need to speak. It came to us intuitively. And as the cold steel pressed against my warm artery, it was like the information just transferred from material construct to material construct. Ideas, syntheses, theory, our spot in the universe. It all came together. I'm really excited for all of you to learn. The book of Revelations, it doesn't even begin to describe what's coming. Anyway, that's my experience with Jesus. Follow if you enjoyed. Like and subscribe. Good night.